I don't know.
What was that?
When they're gonna be back on the floor.
Seven.
Seven. So we're back on the floor in 3 minutes, but this may be an 8 PM item, we hope. But where we are is trying to generate language that people can accept and buy into, including our counterparts in the Senate, that does not result in a direct veto threat, which we received on the previous language.
And so how does the possession part work?
We can consider language that we know is under consideration in the Senate. They are not gonna be adding any of the language. They would have to message it back to us so we could concur with further proposal amendment. But until we have the language.
So we requested possession of the bill.
Yes,
Can they deny that?
Yes.
yes, they have to suspend rules to
They
give
have
us
to
possession
suspend
of the bill
rules
back.
and send it back to us.
And there,
Okay.
and as of a couple hours ago, they were not inclined to do so.
There's angst among some members of the Senate about the sound language, and they are reluctant to send it back. We worked very hard this afternoon to come up with a compromise position. We thought we had it, and it involved certain things that the Senate wanted, and we said, okay, we can give you those if you can give us our sound stuff. And we thought we had a deal, and then when it went to the Senate, it kind of fell apart a little bit, and that's where it sits now. And they're kind of holding on to it.
Does the Senate agree to this? What's this proposal and who has agreed to it? If anybody.
Nobody's agreed to this proposal. This is one I thought would be more problematic than what we had originally proposed, which was more of a clarification that the board will do case-by-case rulemaking in the interim period, and those CPGs are not contingent on future rulemaking. That is essentially the argument we're having across the three bodies that are trying to figure this out. The House, the Senate, and the administration are in some disagreement about what it means to have a retroactive component to this bill. What this is something that John is familiar with, that we had considered, but leaves a window between when this goes into passage, when this section takes effect, and when the Public Service Board issues emergency rules. They have 30 days to do that.
And in that window, people can apply.
Right, so I thought that would be more problematic to folks.
People can apply
But at
with
least,
no standards.
right, it's a smaller
Status
window
quo.
than keeping general status quo, case-by-case sound rulemaking until those final standards are issued. And I'm just gonna say, I think, I don't wanna speak for Mike, but I think that the informal conferees at this point, because there's no formal conference committee, really want to save this bill and not have it vetoed, because it has a lot of important pieces that a lot of people have worked really hard on. And so we have pretty direct communication that the language that we currently have in place will be vetoed. I would like to see this bill be signed.
Could you explain again the language that we have right in front of us? Like, is this what the Senate's looking at now?
This is not what the Senate is looking at now.
Okay.
This was we started a conversation in here about multiple pathways we could take to avoid a veto and to satisfy some of our concerns. And John brought up emergency rulemaking, and we had thought that would be a more problematic solution for some, because it leaves a window open of about 30 days. But that still gives the board the ability to do emergency rulemaking that would be in effect until they do permanent rules. So there would be more in place in the interim period.
And what would the emergency rules consist of?
I mean, it would be a similar,
They're rulemaking ability, so
it would be a similar direction to them to
without telling them what
Sorry, I didn't
what
see that.
standards they had to temporarily impose.
right. And John had some feedback about,
So what have you updated so far?
we've been looking at,
Okay, so you're just talking, so,
we're just talking.
okay, so the Senate has not sent the bill back,
Right,
so we don't have it.
right.
We have nothing to do. The Senate is debating marijuana. So we're gonna gavel in now and we're gonna adjourn, is what the speaker's gonna do
Instead, it's gonna reconvene at 7.
tonight, but
And nobody's doing anything on this.
When are we
we're not doing
back?
anything on anything.
Are we gonna be back tomorrow at a certain?
We'll be back,
time? To the floor committee?
Tonight at 8?
well, there's no sense in, so did you share with everybody what we gave to
I
the
did.
Senate?
I only have one copy, so John and Mariana have seen it.
No, I haven't seen it.
It's not-
And
This
then
is different than
we
that.
got in a discussion about the alternative path with emergency rulemaking, which might give people more certainty in a shorter period of time.
So this is different than that.
Yeah, this is a
An old one.
Yeah.
This was another alternative discussion we were having that I thought people wouldn't wanna have, and now I'm
This is the
hearing it.
one that I thought was gonna be
Can we
emailed.
get copies of this or not?
Yeah, let's get copies, 'cause
Yeah,
I haven't
this is
seen
the one
it. I
that-
don't think I've seen it either, have I?
I assume this is
No.
Like,
I need the original to make copies.
So the issue for the governor is the retroactivity, okay? That's the issue.
So what language does he want?
It wants language with no retroactivity.
Those are the two paths that we have
Right.
represented in these two.
So it would read as, I'm asking you, the
Well,
language.
she has
would-
the
Well-
copy of what we.
So so everybody has
So
now
it's in that,
the emergency rulemaking
right?
draft. That's
Okay,
one
well-
proposal.
Since we're not taking the action, why don't we just all get copies of that and we can discuss it
Sure.
next time,
Yeah.
rather than just.
No, we're not, there's, there's very little to debate. The choice that we have, and I wanna make everybody aware of it, to think about it. There's a bill with a lot of pieces in it, many of us think that there's a lot of good stuff in the bill, and the choice is, nobody gets to be 100% satisfied, and the alternative is that you end up having what you have today, and if that's what you like better, then you will go.
Well, let me ask this question. This whole time, we've had people from the administration in here for weeks. How come we're just hearing this now?
Well, you'd have to ask them then,
Okay. Anybody here?
because
from
I
that now?
can only do what I had to work with.
Well, it's really frustrating to just hear this at the last minute from the administration after this has been worked on for weeks on end. But I can take that up with one of the
You can.
representatives.
So
But you aren't aware, they didn't message you previous to this, that
No.
No, I first became aware of their strong concerns about 2 or 3 days ago. And that's what I was trying to work the 3 legs of the stool.
Well, it certainly, it was strange to me that suddenly they're weighing in at such a late date in such a strong fashion.
Well, that's why I said to you, I was frustrated also today, 'cause ran around for 3 hours trying to work out a compromise, and when we thought we had a compromise, I was informed that that compromise the governor would veto, and that was a shocker to me, and I'm sharing your dismay. I don't
I don't like that
I'm not the
layout.
only one.
So if we put in language that's more agreeable to the governor,
The language
how
that,
does that?
the language that we have forwarded to the Senate is agreeable to the governor.
Which we're gonna get a copy of as soon as
Right.
Claire comes back.
Right.
Okay, so we'll sleep on
And we don't know yet whether it's agreeable to the Senate.
I don't, I can't answer for the Senate, I've been waiting for 3 hours.
Yeah,
for the
I have been hearing positive reactions, but I did just let Connor know we're considering an alternative
But I,
proposal.
but what I want folks to be conscious of is that, the alternative is to lose everything that has been worked on in the bill, and what you have is what we have today, and that's what you're gonna have for at least another year.
So just to give people context, what you just got was a fuller version of a concurrence with further proposal amendment that has the other tweaks and technical corrections that we included. And the section that is substantially different is on page 2 at the bottom. The subsection B would be essentially saying you are issued a case-by-case sound standard to receive your CPG, and there's no future contingency in terms of when rulemaking is complete, having to undergo review all over again for your CPG. And the other, the one that you have that standalone, is saying the board needs to do emergency rulemaking that they have up to 30 days to do, and that will apply to your CPG until they have permanent rulemaking in place. Warren.
So this would happen if the Senate sends it back to us and then we concur with further proposal of
That's
amendment
right.
and this goes back to them.
They're gonna send it back to us. The fact that it hasn't been sent back is not a ploy or anything. There's a stack, they got a stack that they just haven't
Okay.
gotten
They haven't
so
sent the
yet.
text.
So
Because
if
of the
they,
big marijuana.
so when they, then this would be up for our further proposal amendment, okay? I understand that. Okay.
So we would, if we all came to an agreement on the amendment, we would propose to our body on the floor to then concur with the further amendments
Right,
and send it on its way, and then it's up to the Senate to either thumbs up or thumbs down.
So is this an amendment that they would be proposing to us then? This is
Us to them.
okay. So we got our homework. 18. Good.
So we know these are two paths that would, as we understand it, would not be vetoed, but we have not gotten full word from the Senate as to what they will accept.
All right, let's go to the floor and,